90% of effort is wasted. Sounds smart, is smart, but the problem is, how do you figure out which 10% are really worth your time? This is where AI comes in. I'm going to show you how I use AI today to figure out those 10%. All right. So I'm going to do this using SEO as the example, because that's kind of, what I use for marketing, but you can say the same about product development. You can say the same about viral marketing. And what I want to tackle with this is essentially the sentiment right now, where people seem to be thinking, especially non-technical people, seem to be thinking that AI can do everything and AI can, just replace 1,000 people in their organization, which is not true. Both from where we are today and probably also in the future, where things are more nuanced, than they seem. Very often, it's the kind of developer that says they can build Slack in a weekend. It's kind of similar before they see that they have millions of conditions which push notification to send. That's a very interesting chart to look at. And so what does that mean for you? I think it means that there is a way to use AI to go through a lot of iterations very fast to, essentially accelerate the learning loop or the lean startup, loop to learn and to waste less time. And what's also very interesting is that it helps to keep within context, right? So as AI enables us to do more things on our own, essentially, I can create thumbnails. I'm not a designer, I'm a developer, or, I used to, right? So I'm technical. I'm not a designer, but I can do my own thumbnails, or I can do my own marketing video. I can do my own content to grow. And it enables me to do that within a single session, which drastically reduces the time between, me saying, okay, this is the strategy for the content, and here's the keyword, and then I have to wait 2 weeks for a content piece. That loop is drastically reduced. However, once I know which content works, I do spend a shitload of time either rewriting it or letting a person rewrite it, or going in and doing a lot of tweaks. So every single content piece that I have determined is worth my time, I will spend a lot of time on. So it's not like I completely just shit it out there and it sits there and it does something for me, but I go back in and I refresh it. I get a writer, I get an editor, people look at it. And what I do use AI for is to produce a lot of content very fast, right? And so then you throw things out there and you see what sticks, essentially. Also just like, ideas, products, you've heard the term before, most likely throw a lot of ideas out there and see what sticks. And so that is essentially what I do, but I do it with content, and I do it with thumbnails, and I do it with, UGC ads. I just create UGC ads and I test a shitload of hooks, and whichever hook works, I just reproduce with a human. But I already know, and I've de-risked that it won't work because I've already proven that it will work. Now I just need to make it work better, and AI UGC is still in a state where people see that it's AI, even though all these tools claim nobody sees it, and maybe if they only watch the first 3 seconds and then already click, maybe that's true. But overall, it's visible, and you always need to kind of question the incentives of who's talking to you. If they're selling AI marketing tools, they're probably going to tell you nobody will know, but they will, right? And so it's a matter of incentives, as always. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't be using it, right? Like, it's the same as people using V0. I use V0 to ship prototypes to non-technical stakeholders, showing them how things could look like, and then have them implement it, or I implement it myself afterwards with Cursor or Windsurf or whatever. It doesn't matter, right? Like, whatever gets the job done. And so that is really the kind of core critical thinking here, is like, how do I get where I need to be fast, and how do I then spend the resources on the right thing? So that's really what it's all about. And I want to, after this rant, I want to show you very visually in one example for SEO how that looks like. And for that, we're going to be looking at, I created this yesterday, we're going to be looking at essentially our distribution of content, right? So this is for an existing asset, gets like 50,000 clicks a month, something like that. And you can see that content doesn't follow a normal distribution. Neither does marketing content. You know, like UGC ads, they're like 5% are really good. They pull in all the clicks or all the sales, and then the rest is just garbage, right? And we don't know what's going to be garbage, and we don't know what's going to be good, and that's the whole point, right? And you can make estimated, or like you can make based on what you've done in the past and what has worked, but really you never know. You're always starting with a hypothesis, right? And so this is what the content looks like for us. We have essentially 39 pages, so 3.4% of the pages on the whole website or the whole domain. We have thousands of pages, so we have 1,500 pages, I don't know, whatever. And 39 of those pull in 80% of the clicks, which is just the truth. I think that's something we need to improve as well, because we're very, at risk of just being wiped out here. But I think that's just the truth. Like you 80-20, 90-10, it's not a normal distribution, not a bell curve. It's a power law distribution, which kind of looks like this. Or let's see, in a linear way, it looks like this, right? So you would expect a bell curve to have something here, and then you would look like this. But now we're looking at this, and this is the truth. Like you can fight it, you can complain, but it doesn't matter, right? And so 80-20, 3.4%, and then 90-10. So 90% of the traffic are from 5.7% of our pages. And only 50% of the pages actually have clicks, right? So we can do some pruning here. We can remove some content to improve this, but essentially it's, as long as we don't get penalized by Google, it doesn't really make much of a difference. So it's just work that is useless. But yeah, and this is how it looks like everywhere, right? And the point, I'm trying to make, here's another breakdown where it's or visual as well. So you see 45,000 clicks, 39 pages, and then 8,000 clicks the next 65 pages, right? And so I just wanted to show you, an example, what I mean with like figuring out how to know what's worth working on, because now I can go in and I know what these 39 pages are, and they've been produced very fast. Takes 30 minutes to publish one, going from AI content to just checking everything's there. Internal linking is good, so things like that. We use actually our own tool for this. That is probably somewhere in the description if you're interested. But it doesn't matter, right? So the whole point that I'm trying to make is launch fast or get these things out fast. Make sure they have a standard level of quality. Like you want to have absolute bullshit. Same with like V0 prototypes. They need to make sense. They need to be useful. Otherwise, it's trash. Just throw it away, and that's fine, right? You spend 30 minutes on this, so you're not overly emotionally attached. There's no sunk cost fallacy because you have to scrap a 30-minute prototype. And that's another, advantage of doing it this way, because you don't get all these biases into play and you're not emotional about it. Produce it fast and figure out what's worth spending more time on. And once you know that, 90% of your time should go into the couple things that move the needle for you. Will it be an idea, a product? Will it be content? Will it be UGC ads? Will it be something else? It doesn't matter. And I'm doing the same here as another example with these YouTube videos, because I'm horrible at making videos, but I know I need to make more videos to become better and to improve. And so what I'm doing is I'm just throwing out these videos. They're barely edited, as you can probably tell, they're not good. They have a lot of value, I think, but right now the value for me is also in replaying information to you, so that solidifies my own understanding of it, which is, purely self-interest, so to speak. And if you get some value out of it, great. But, I know that they're not good videos. And so as long as I keep doing them and I keep improving them and figuring out, okay, maybe this is a topic, I'll make a very quick video. This is a topic people want to hear about. I will know. And then I can make thousands of videos about that topic, or maybe hundreds, right? But is it worth it? I don't know. I can only guess. And so, that's a third. I don't know how many fucking examples we had until now, but I hope, this kind of resonates. And I think thinking about AI as a enabler to get things tested and validated fast, not necessarily that it will replace your brain or it will replace the work that is necessary to make something successful, whatever that means for you. I think that is how you should look at it. And in 3 to 5 years, that might be different. But right now, that's where we're at. And you should always use the tools that you have in the best possible way, accepting their constraints, right? But yeah, already enough ranting. I'll see you in the next video. Feel free to subscribe below if you like some hobo looking guy ranting for 2 hours. I have more in the pipeline already. Cheers.